So even though Andy worked his butt off for 4 months making this van livable, we realized after about 21 days in Alaska that the van needed some more work. As beautiful as Alaska is, its roads are full of potholes, and it didn't take us long to realize that our shocks are shot. And they should have been replaced before we even left the lower 48. Oops. We've had an engine overheating issue since we bought the van, which Andy thought he fixed, but it turns out the issue is still kind of there a little bit. And we're amateurs, we didn't do our research, and we just used basic flat paint to paint the cabinets in the van. So every dirty fingerprint, shoe scuff, and oily hand has left its mark over the past month, and it's impossible to wipe off with a cleaning rag. So we have some work to do. The issue that's persisted since we bought the van is the engine overheating. We noticed it would act up in super hot weather and when we climb really steep hills. So Andy took apart the front end of the van to get access to the radiator. He cleaned out the dead bugs and leaf debris that was in between the radiators. This debris was cutting off airflow, so the radiator couldn't cool down after heating up. Simply cleaning that out could be a simple fix if it works. Another issue that popped up almost immediately after we left for Alaska was the struts and shocks, or the lack thereof. It was seriously painful driving down the highways in rural Canada and Alaska. As dramatic as it sounds, every big bump would jar you to your core. Once Andy actually took out the old shocks, he realized they were basically non-existent.
That's brutal. Makes you motion sick.
This is why we're changing these. I should not be able to do this. This is the strut for the front end. I should not be able to push it down. It doesn't even come back up. So basically we're riding on springs. No shock absorbers, no struts. So it should be money well spent. Hopefully.
I cannot describe the eyesore the cabinets in the van had become by this point. I couldn't stand how dirty they looked, and it was impossible to clean them. Imagine if you had a sweaty hand and then went up to a wall in your house and drug your hand all over it. The oils of your skin would immediately transfer and become a part of the wall, and that's what had been happening with the paint we used when I painted back in July. So here's the deal. In July, when we painted the cabinets, we didn't know what we were doing, and we just used regular plain old white paint. And that proved to be an issue almost immediately because fingerprints, handprints, when you accidentally scuff it with your shoe, it's impossible to get the black marks off. So our cabinets are completely blemished right now. As much as I am dreading this because it sucked the first round, I have to paint again. So this time we did the emerald urethane trim enamel, and it's a semi-gloss, and it is still a white color. So we got 2 little cans of this, 31 fluid ounces each. We're basically just gonna go over everything one more time, and this, according to the guy at the hardware store, is gonna be a lot easier to clean. So it'll be a lot like, you know, your typical kitchen cabinet. Just if it gets a mark on it, you can take a wet cloth and just wipe it off and it'll go away and be clean. So keep me in your thoughts and prayers, because this is gonna suck. In all honesty, we didn't buy any special paint the first time around. We just used some leftover stuff Andy's mom had sitting in storage, and we didn't even bother putting on a top coat of any kind. So this time we put in a little more effort than that, because I'm telling you right now, I will not be painting these cabinets again. To start, I taped every nook and cranny off with blue painter's tape. After taping, I gave everything a quick sand down with some sandpaper, then wiped it down again with a wet rag, and then I got to work. We're getting there. I'm a little over halfway done. I'm doing 2 coats. I do have to say it's going smoother this time than last time. Like, since I've had experience doing this once recently, I'm like not up and down on my knees and feet so much. So like, I don't think my body will be as sore this time. And overall, I think it is going a little bit faster. Well, I did it, and I actually think it only took me around 4 hours, which is way better than last time. I think last time it took like a full 8 hours. Actually, I think it was more than that, but I have to say I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I'm a little concerned that I did this coat of paint and like we're gonna start living in it again, you know, living in the van again and scuffing things up, and it's gonna be the same issue, which would be a bummer. I don't really know what to expect, but can't have too high of expectations, I guess. What do you think, Henry? What do you think of your new home? Andy also used this time to fix some spots on the outer shell of the van. He sanded the areas down and then spot painted them. He also completely painted the entire hood of the van, including some small framing pieces around the headlights. We bought the lights in the ceiling of the van off Amazon, and unfortunately, they aren't exactly lasting very well. One of them had burned out by the time we got to the UP, so Andy had ordered a replacement and popped that in while we were home. And that's what 7 days of honest work will get you when working on a van. We were now ready to get going once again and move on to our next stop, the East Coast. I'm interested to see how things hold up until our next trip home, where we do another round of renovations and touch-ups. If you enjoyed watching this video or any other videos on my channel, please consider giving it a like by clicking on the thumbs up button. If you want to follow along on our van adventures over the next year, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.